3000.
Right, my name's Maloney. This is the 3000 podcast. I'm joined today by Jeansa of Pirate Mafia. Is it Pirate Mafia or the Pirate Mafia?
Pirate Mafia or just PM.
Just PM, the?
Nah, never. Just,
never the?
Nah, just Pirate Mafia or PM.
Thanks for making the trip down here
All
today,
good, man. Thanks for having us.
I appreciate it. And obviously this podcast is about Melbourne, and I think your music is extremely Melbourne-centric, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I love it. So I thought I've got to get you on the show to talk about your fucking stories about Melbourne and just the whole interesting story about PM.
Yep.
Not the Pirate Mafia, just Pirate Mafia.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning, man. So whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up on the Lilydale line, so out in Box Hill. I was out there for probably 20 or so years, and then I ended up moving over to Greensborough.
Yep.
And then from Greensy, rented for a bit, and then ended up buying a joint in Eltham, where I'm still am now. So, yeah.
And that's the Hursty line?
It's a Hursty line now, but original Lilydale line.
Really? So, man, I'm not too familiar with that part of Melbourne, to be honest. But, yeah, man, it's beautiful down there. The Lilydale line and then, like, the foothills of the Dandenongs and stuff.
Yeah, had it all, man. And then, straight to the city, pretty easy. But, getting out to the Hursty line, like when I'd go visit, like, Dean and Bo and stuff out there on the train, it was a bit of a mission, but... Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, they really need to do that orbital thing with the train so you can go from one line to the next.
Yeah.
That needs to happen sooner rather than later. So growing up in Lilydale, on the Lilydale line.
Yeah, Box Hill.
Box Hill, on that line though. What are kids doing for fun? Are you skating? Are you riding BMX?
BMX, predominantly, man. So like trails back then, so jumps. So back then, every kid had a set of trails going. So we'd get the train out to Lilydale, Montrose, Croydon Hills. Like I was actually there a couple of weeks ago riding and it was that whole trail scene. We'd go to Lilydale Bowl, Camberwell Sale Yards, Fitzy Bowl. We were real entrenched in BMX back then. Yeah. Sort of like the 90s, early 2000s.
So what do we... I'm not a BMX guy. I did have a Mongoose and a Haro and that stuff for a while. But I love skating. But what kind of setup are you riding? Do you call a BMX a setup? What kind of bike are you riding back then?
I mean, like back then, there's sort of those hoopty bikes, like people that just got frames or whatever, hand-me-downs, that sort of thing. Yeah. But there was a couple of specialty shops. So like there was one in Collingwood called Strictly BMX. So you get American-made stuff.
And they're still going?
They are, yeah. Different owners now, though.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so Mark, who owned it, sold it a couple of years back now. But yeah, so all American-made sort of stuff. Like, so you'd always judge, like basketball, you judge someone on what shoes they were wearing, how good they were. Similar with BMX, like, oh, that guy's got that frame or he's got this.
Yeah, because I know Strictly BMX now are just off Chapel near the skate park.
They moved.
Oh, they moved again?
Yeah, it's like Narry Warren or Berwick sort of way now. Yeah, different owner, they sold the business.
Again, right. Because I remember when, like I said, skating... They were next to Camberwell Skate Park for a while.
Yeah, I worked there.
You did?
Yeah, for probably 6 months or so.
So when they first built that skate park, that was the first concrete skate park anywhere sort of near the city.
It was a big deal. And we were lucky being on the Lilydale line that we could just get the train a few stops down to Camberwell. But they were good times, mate. Like looking back and, catching the train back then was always scary with your bike. We'd go to Ringwood Station and you'd sit there for too long and like a couple of crim looking dudes would hop on and fucking be looking at your bike and you're like, oh shit, you're only young, and then there's panels running all the time back then as well.
Could you get rolled for your bike?
Yeah, big time.
Really?
Yeah, especially when you would go like, say to the Hursty line, or we used to go to trails out in Altona and, different sort of crews out there. You don't know what you're going to run into. So you got kids doing insides and kids kicking windows out on the train.
So then you start to really hold your...
Oh, you'd always sit in like a pack together because, we're only young, mate. I was only like 13, 12, that type of thing.
Did you used to go to the sale yards on a Wednesday when they'd let BMXs in there?
I must have been. I only went there a couple of times to the sale yards.
They'd only let BMXs in there. I think it was a Wednesday.
It was pretty staunch, like skater back then, like it was a bit frowned upon the whole, even like when Warm Ponds in Geelong opened up.
I used to catch the bus out there, man. The train and the bus out there just to skate. They had that cool spine ramp there.
Yeah, and I remember going there and like got to the car park, dudes come out, you're not coming in with your BMX. It was that was very like a thing back then.
I remember it being a bit of a thing because they used to say that the pegs would dint the coping.
Yeah, which probably fair, but really it is what it is,
Yeah, and I think they would find that you'd fall back on the pegs and do like a stall and dint the coping, and then dudes are doing 50-50s or whatever and then eat shit.
Yeah.
And how do you repair the coping? I guess it's pretty...
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, when you're kids, you don't really give a fuck about that.
I think that was the mindset, though.
But I think, for us growing up, trails was probably like the big thing. Like Diamond Creek had probably they just got demolished, but they're just building them again now, and they'd been there for like 20 odd years.
Yeah,
like real world famous trails. People would come from all over the world to ride them, and yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, real big scene back then.
Good way to do some damage to your body, though.
Yeah, but also good as well, like to be out with your mates, building jumps. Like kids aren't doing that anymore, mate.
No,
you know,
it's and it's also a product of which area you grow up in, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, where we were around here, you didn't have the land to do that.
That's right.
I guess, but there you don't have the concrete to skate as well, so you got to try and find what works for your fucking area.
Yeah.
And when does hip hop come onto the scene? Like, is it?
Oh, I'm not gonna, front or nothing. Like, I was never like big into hip hop as a kid or anything. Like, probably looking back to musical sort of sense. Like, I grew up in a family where my dad was very much into music that wasn't top 40. So we were lucky to have like King Crimson playing and Spectrum and Jimi Hendrix and that sort of thing. So subconsciously you're sort of hearing that, not knowing really what's going on. Like everyone else isn't hearing the same music you're hearing, you know? And then through like the BMX videos and skate videos, as you'd probably know, you're hearing all this music that no one else is sort of hearing. So we would go to this mail order in America and buy BMX VHS tapes or whatever. And it had like Souls of Mischief on them, Nas, Big Pun. So you're hearing all this stuff going, fuck, this is crazy. And
first time I heard Nas was on a 411 video.
Yeah, we'd cop 411s and like Misled Youth by Zero, Dying to Live, all those videos, like crazy soundtracks.
Yeah, and you'd hear, and back then, like I know obviously people think Nas is now huge, but back then it was like underground, like you just couldn't. Young people that are probably watching or listening don't understand that before the internet, you just had to consume that music wherever you could fucking find it. And some of those DVDs and videos were the only way you would find this music anywhere.
Yeah. Like we had Recovery, Rage.
If someone was touring, they might be on that show. You might catch the Beastie Boys or something like that. But you're not going to get... They're not going to be like, and this is a new hip-hop track that's just been dropped. Unless there's a reason for them to play it, they wouldn't. Yeah, and
I remember hearing like Rakim, Don't Sweat the Technique on an old NBA Jam session VHS I had.
Dude, I used to flog that one, NBA Jam session. It had that on it. What else did it have on it?
I actually looked this up the other day. It had Biggie was on it. It had Heavy D, I think was on it. Yeah,
Rump Shaker, but it was Rim Shaker because it wasn't too.
So that was good. I remember like with the saxophone and stuff. That was a big thing. But we were lucky as well. Like my old man was funny. Like he bought we felt like we had the first 4-speed burner in Victoria. Yeah. So once we heard of like Napster, internet, burn them, would rinse them.
You're the go-to guy.
So I used to have like a little thing going at school where I would burn CDs for kids $4.
Yeah.
And we had this CD stomper. You could put the label onto the top of the CD.
Those sticker labels.
Yeah. So we were like doing proper bootlegs, and I was selling them, and like kids would put orders in, and like I wasn't so much into that sort of stuff, but I remember doing like Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, Big L, Wu-Tang Forever, and then like Big Pun, Capital Punishment, and I would make a copy for myself, and that's probably where I started like getting into it a little bit more as far as hip hop went, but it was really...
That's the only way you could get it, really. Like the first hip hop CDs that I got was the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
We had a dude, Anthony Devine, that's him, I'll give him a shout. He used to do that same sort of hustle at school. For $5 you'd get a CD and all that sort of stuff, which is fucking pretty interesting now, because if you like something, you can just go and fucking listen to it in an instant. But we'd have to go tell someone what you want, give them the $5, hope that they don't get expelled from school in the meantime, and then bring it back to you that week.
Yeah, but like anyone with an older brother as well, like he had a mate, Neil, who had he had his older brother who had like the Ford Cobra on bricks, full metal head, and like we're hearing like Kill 'Em All by Metallica. That's why I called Ill 'Em All my first album after that sort of throwback.
I've got that in here.
That was the first metal CD like that I heard that wasn't like something that was mainstreamy sort of stuff. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. And then you're hearing like Iron Maiden, Slayer, and all that type of thing. And then I would eventually sort of get into more like punk rock, I suppose, as a teenager first. And then I would start going to the Art House Hotel. I don't know if you know the Artie, North Melbourne, and watching live shows there all the time, and watching like Mind Snare and Within Blood, Found My Direction, like all these sort of Melbourne sort of New South Wales hardcore bands.
Still doing shows at the moment.
Yep, crazy shows back then. Yeah, wild, and like Mid-Youth Crisis. And
so you're a teenager at this stage?
This stage, yeah, I'm like sort of 16 probably.
And they're all ages shows.
No, we'd go early. So my mate was, because of BMX, I knew a dude, Cooper Brownlee, who's still around, into the hardcore scene. He'd take me. We'd just go before they'd open up type thing. Like you just walk in, there was no security, and I just keep low for like the first
play
couple of
pinball
hours
or something.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, and I just wouldn't order any beers and that, you know, because I
Yeah.
wanted to see the bands. And then when I got a bit older, I was ordering beers and getting into it a bit more. But there wasn't many all ages gigs back then. No, so that was a big eye opener, you know. But that's why I think I like Oz hip hop, because it's got that DIY ethos like the Melbourne hardcore scene had back then.
Well, I think any like small scene has to have a DIY mindset. Otherwise, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because if you're not out there doing it like that, you're not going to get any label backing. So it has to be DIY, which is cool because it makes it stay authentic.
Yeah. I think I've always been drawn to that side of things where it's not mainstream. Like I can't stand mainstream music when they've got like 40 people writing one song for someone. It's
bananas, isn't it?
It does my head in. And then people say, oh, that song's mad. And they get sucked in by like, no, like if mainstream radio is your source of music, like you're not really living.
It's hard, man. Sometimes I'll jump in an Uber or whatever and I'll feel like I have to listen to whatever radio that dude's playing. Yeah. And it's painful. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, is this what the lowest common denominator of music consumption is? It's fucking hard work.
Yeah. And I reckon through like Napster and then like a few friends of ours were bit older again and they were downloading or buying CDs, whatever, and they had like Mass MC, Hunter Jam Roll, Culture King sort of comps and stuff like that. Yeah, and that was probably the first introduction to sort of Oz hip hop and stuff, I reckon.
And then you listen to that and you can relate to it because you like hip hop. Then you're hearing someone with a similar accent talking about similar shit that you like. Yeah. But how do you take that to then? Well, maybe I can do this.
Oh, there's probably a big gap in between that. Yeah, because you know we're talking 2003. Yeah. So like Stage Is Set, LC, Brother Stoney, Stone Broke, all that. You know, we're good era like Band in Queensland, Lazy Grey. Like you're hearing all this stuff. And Pegs, Capricorn, Cat, you're hearing, and he's shouting out Box Hill and songs. And
that must make you go, fuck,
that's
man.
crazy. And then LC's talking about Melbourne, like they're so Melbourne, LC, the, you know, pinnacle type thing. Yeah. And we'd just rap at parties and stuff. It was never a thing, like, because when you think about it, if you're going to start a band, you know what to do, get a guitar, drummer, bass guitarist, singer, you know. With hip-hop, like, we had no idea how to MPC or what to do, you know, like the actual thought of it was so foreign.
Yeah. So now it's like, well, it's not that hard. But, but then you're like, all right, so we didn't even know where to find instrumentals or where to, And there's no like, you don't know about shows, you don't know anything. And then someone's like, oh, Obese Records in Paran, Is It Street, go check that out. So you might go there and have a look and then you get introduced around. And but predominantly it was just sort of rapping over the top of American hip hop songs at parties, really, 16 sort of onwards, you know. Yeah. You'd take a mic?
No mic, just get like a circle going.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and that's like with Houdin's from Pirate Mafia. So we'd go to parties and he was always real lethal on the mic. Like you would never go against him because he'd get real aggressive or say something real personal to you. So
like you'd be battling each other?
Yeah, sort of. So to this day, I'm like, I've never gone into a battle one-on-one with you, mate, because I know you bring up some real rude shit.
Do you reckon he's written it back there?
Never. No, he's just real. He's good like that. Yeah, he's real cluey like that, real witty. But
that seems to be a bit of a lost part of the art form a little bit now. Yeah. Obviously, people write their rhymes a lot more. Yeah. But back then, that sort of party cipher thing, I just don't think you would. Well, I don't know. Maybe kids are 16, they are doing that. I don't know. I feel like they're more now just recording a fucking TikTok video and putting it out there.
Yeah. So it was all very gradual. I think those early days. I remember seeing Pegs and Reason at the Big Day Out. And that was the first probably live performance I saw.
What year Big Day Out was that?
I can't remember. It would have been probably like, I think Exhibit played and Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Was that like 2003?
Maybe. They had like a little side stage they were on outside. And it
J5, was it that one?
Could have been, yeah. I just know Exhibit headlined and I was there for that and I remember Pegs and that playing. I was like, fuck, how good's this?
And that's when you start to see that stuff and you start to think, well, this people that grew up similar to us can actually do these festivals. Before that, it just wasn't even a comprehensible possibility.
Yeah, you didn't know. Like with the hardcore stuff, I sort of knew where to go. Go to the Art House Hotel, there'll be a show on. You know, there was no like forums or anything for it. You just sort of find out in the grapevine. But the hip hop stuff was still so foreign where people were playing, how to access it. But then through like my brother and his mates or whatever, they went to saw that Battle of Supremacy. I think it was the one inside the boxing ring, Delta versus Hijack, and they were a bit more at the forefront of it, and I was always younger. So
it helps when you got older crew that can show you the way.
Yeah. So the first Oz hip hop proper show I went to was LC at Prince of Wales, and they didn't show up.
They didn't turn up?
No, they didn't rock up. Rodney P played, and they didn't show up, and I was devastated because I went to see them. And
the upstairs band room there?
Yep. I was in the toilet taking a piss and someone's like, Bob Balance isn't even here. They're not even playing. And J Red just did some turntable cuts and stuff and said, we're not playing tonight, guys. And, you know, when they were doing their like runner tour or shows or whatever for the stages set. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so I ended up getting to see him later on, luckily, but I was underage. Had to sneak into the Prince of Wales as well just to see that. And
the Prince was a different place back then. Definitely there was ways to sneak in there. It's been renovated since. It's not as I know. There's a lot of there was back then a lot of little back fucking doorways and all that sort of stuff you could get in. Yeah, man, that's fucking pretty interesting that like these guys that you looked up to later on you get to sort of work with to an extent, or at least be on the same bill with.
I mean, to work with Brad Strutt on the latest one was like the biggest accomplishment that I've ever had, and you know that was a trip. You know, to the kid. You know, I was in This Is It buy-in, Legend Official, and you know, like idolizing that dude, seeing him at shows, and I'd be like, fuck, he's, you know, that's Brad Strutt and stuff. So to reach out and be in a studio making a song with him was mind blowing.
And he's a humble dude.
Oh, so humble, mate. Yeah, he's the OG. You know? Yeah.
There's not too many people that I've met in that sort of Aussie hip hop scene that isn't really. Well, there's a few, but most of them are pretty down to earth dudes. Yeah. Do you find that?
Yeah. I mean, everyone that like I reached out to for a verse on the Don Carter hit me back and were like, yeah, we'd love to be a part of it. And so, I mean, everyone seems to be pretty easy going in that regard. I don't think, because the heads that I'm hitting up probably aren't as staunch as what they were back then. You know,
because
we're all just making it for the love. I think it's not like there's nothing really to gain. We're not trying to gain anything from it. It's just about the art and making music. You know?
Yeah. And so let's talk about the name. We've established it's just Pirate Mafia, but where does the name come from?
So best way I can understand, like the way I understand it, is that Houdins and a few of the boys were down at a festival in Tassie, and they had a pirate flag up. They were getting up to whatever. He was rapping, and then like someone's like, "Where are you guys staying?" And like, over near the pirate flag, the Pirate Mafia, and like every shit nickname. Yeah. Or whatever, it just stuck. Yeah. And
so it's got, because there's rumours that you all used to drink rum.
No. There's probably a bit of that. Yeah, Bundy rum and stuff. A few of the boys love Bundy rum.
Maybe you were pirating CDs, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I actually didn't have much to do with the original, like that early days. That was really Dean sort of getting that going on his own. So I actually hadn't seen Dean for a little bit, and then I went to a party and he had a CD. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? He's like, it's Pirate Mafia. Pirate fucking Mafia. I'm like, who the hell's that? He's like, it's me and Nugsy and Sculzy and Celtic. Yeah, and that's the first time I'd heard it, and I was blown away. I'm like, when have you been making this? What's going on? And that's
so you're not writing raps at this stage?
Not at this point, just freestyling. And I'm like, you guys writing raps? He's like, yeah, we're all writing raps now. And they were just jacking beats, like Ill Bill beats, non-fiction, AOTP. That's that sort of sound people sort of associate us with. Yeah. And I'm like, let me come around. I want to write a rhyme.
So I guess even if you had a love for music and you are freestyling, it's different to write it down, because you're really putting it out there. You're not just drunk at a party. You've got to show your contemporaries, this is what I'm about. So was it a bit of a nervous sort of situation when you actually sort of wrote something and then showed that to them? Yeah, I mean, like anything, I'd probably put too many words into, tried to do too much, and Dean's like, take that line out and try and change it around. So even just to structure a 4/4 was hard, like a 16-bar verse. Yeah. I didn't really know what I was doing. And you want to put in... Yeah, it's hard, because if you look it up to people like Big L and whoever was sort of popular at that time, who everyone loves, you want to make it... You want to have, like, references to something. You want to make it funny, or you want to make it witty at least. Yeah. And I guess it is hard. Maybe it's like writing a joke or something. You've got to figure out how to do that and structurally make it sound. Yeah. And that's a fucking art form in itself. It is. And like anything, the first few rhymes you write, you probably want to keep to yourself. Like I probably put my first written rhyme on an actual song, and then the second verse I ever wrote was for the Runnin' with the GH song. Really? Yeah. So, well, you had a baptism of fire there. You really jumped in the deep end. Yeah. But now, looking back, you can't think I'd want to change anything. Oh, maybe like a line here and there, but not really. It's got to learn. Yeah, it plays its position in history, you know what I mean? Like, you can't look back on your music and go, I want to change that or do this, Yeah. You always want it to sound better, but it is what it is. And that's an immortal sort of song now because of, the videos and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, and those dudes were a very formidable force in that sort of graffiti culture. Yep. You were on the peripheral, you hanging around with them, that sort of thing? Yeah, so we had a spot in Lower Plenty. It was called the Squash Courts.
that's where I sort of met all those guys. So we, like Dean and a few other dudes, went in there, ripped the staircase out, and built some ramps in there. So we're back probably 2003, around the same time. We're riding ramps and doing our thing, and they all show up, you know, like fucking seagulls to a chip. Heard there were some good walls in there. So they start painting, and that's where I met like rivals who started GH, and then, you know, I've got like Spurs down there, and then like guys like Hippie and Nugs who rode BMX started getting into graph because they're seeing these dudes do it, and that's how, like, another guy, Nickty, was down there painting, and he knew Wisey and Skullsy from Pirate Mafia.
Yep.
And he introduced him to Dean and said, oh, these guys are rapping too, and that's how they formed through the squash courts.
And it's just a chill spot where, you know, you can do whatever you want, sort of thing.
Yeah, it was just in a bando. And the first people, luckily, we actually got to see was Puzzle and Decals do a piece.
Really?
So we were only doing our tags and shit in there, just writing stupid shit on the wall.
So no one was doing pieces in there?
No one.
Really?
No. And then they came down and did these big roller pieces. And so, yeah, everyone knew the puzzle. Like, everyone knew the Puzz.
Yeah.
You know, WCA was like, even if you didn't write, you knew who WCA was, you know. And then like Nugs saw Decals and took him under his wing, and then Nugs started painting with him, and he got the bug, and, you know, he went levels above everyone type thing. And yeah, so those early years at the Squashies was like real big for us, you know what I mean?
And I'm guessing that it's now apartments.
Long gone, yeah, townhouses. Yeah,
and do you drive past sometimes and go, fuck, there's some memories?
Yeah, I've got a mate, a couple of mates live down there and stuff around that area. But yeah, and there's like, because we actually end up making our own BMX videos, so luckily we documented those times. So we've got a lot of the footage from the Squashies in there. And
I think people now that, you know, that I talk to, or just people of our sort of age, they wish they documented more, which was a lot harder back then because you didn't have cell phones or fucking, you know, smartphones.
Yeah.
But you look at those sort of, I used to carry a video camera around with some of my mates. We'd go record skating stuff. It's precious, that stuff now, because I used to hold the camera and people be like, fuck, what are you doing, Maloney? But I'm like, we'll appreciate this one day.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that, you know, a lot of that stuff probably won't be documented from our era back in those early days.
Yeah, no, we got right into it with all that.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you're making the BMX videos.
Yeah, and we're having premiere parties for them, and that's like with the GH video. Like, I made that for the boys. I'm like, oh, you
edited it and everything?
Yeah. They supplied the footage and stuff anonymously, and then I can't say the word, mate. Yeah, and then I made it for them and I put it out.
So you edited the whole. So they gave you just raw footage.
And then we said that's how PM sort of were like, oh, let's do a premiere for it. I've done these before with BMX videos. We'll hire a venue, we'll do the vid, and we'll play a set. Let's make it like a PM show with the GH vid premiere.
Really?
Yeah, the Blue Tile Lounge in Smith Street, Collingwood.
So the Blue Tile, well, that's a reference to the skate video, a blue Search for Animal Chin, which is the Blue Tile Club.
Oh, okay.
Which,
there you go.
The blue tiles around the
pool or something.
Pools.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and that was a wild night. Like, that's legendary. Yeah, we drank the bar dry, and, you know, everyone got to see their shit on the screen on, you know, big projector, and they were loving it.
And you edited the whole thing?
Yeah, because I'd done the BMX videos before.
So you just, I guess you've got a lot of footage you've got to wade through, figure out what's what, cut the music to it.
Yeah, and you're getting like phone footage and like flip phone footage. And, like, not like today. It's not all like pro or anything.
No, and then that, I guess, instantly cements you within the crew with those guys, because you're the dude who has the currency of being able to edit, and what we bring to him, he can turn it into something tangible.
Yeah, sort of. Like, I never wanted anything from it. It was just but just wanted to make it. Yeah, I suppose. It's, you know, it was just something I wanted to, like, you know, give them their flowers. You know, they were going out causing havoc and that all the time. I'm like, mate, it's sick. Like, no one was making videos like that at the time. Tried to edit it like a BMX video back then, rather than like a graph video where it's all sped up footage and like a metal soundtrack. It was like, tried to cut it to the beat, and, you know. And,
But there's no real actual blueprint. Like, you look at everything, it's pretty DIY like that. So I guess you're just doing whatever you can fucking.
Yeah, it's what I knew. Yeah. So and then like PM was sort of just getting closer with the GH boys back then, and all partying together, going out and you know, hanging out, that type of thing.
But everyone's from the same area.
Predominantly, like, everyone's from the northeast. Yep. And
that area has ties because of the Hurstbridge line is a famous, you know, line, obviously because of bias and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But it's got a bit of a stronghold on graffiti culture from that 90s as well.
Big time.
So you, whether you like it or not, you're sort of in it, aren't you?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah,
no, well, like, I guess it's people just sort of.
It's got history, you know. Yeah. And luckily, like, for like a lot of those guys, they were getting to, like, you know, be a part of that through the older guys. Like they took them under their wing, like Deeks and stuff, and they were like, all right. So they were sort of the GH crew had a bit of a rep, and they weren't getting like shit on by anyone, and it was good. It was good times. It was good to watch them come up and smash it.
So at this stage, you're still jacking beats, American beats, and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So I guess the next move is to sort of do something original. How do you go about finding original beats?
That's the hard part. Like, we didn't know anyone. So, like, as far as the hip-hop stuff went, we didn't know Checkmate made beats or, it's all real early days. There's not really, like, for us it was anyway. Yeah. So we ended up trying to make our own. So my brother's a bit of, like, he's got what my dad had as far as the electronic background. He got a pair of turntables, and we started getting him making beats for us with an MPC and sampling and, so
the old floppy disks.
Yeah, so like the Illamall songs that are on there, they're all, apart from two, were produced by my brother Vaughn, DJ Storm. Yeah, yep. So and a couple of those songs on there were supposed to be part of Smoko, the EP that we were bringing out that never came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had, like, all the PM joints on that album were for an EP. So that's sort of what we're doing. And like everything, when money starts getting involved and people, you got to actually go to the studio. It's not just go to Dean's joint and stand around, have a few beers and rap in a room.
Yeah.
It was a bit more serious.
And I guess people get to a bit more of a mature stage in their life. Maybe they've got a partner, or they're thinking about having kids, or they're like, fuck, I need to get a real job, or you know what I mean? So I guess those factors kind of happen. Yeah,
people got apprenticeships. I got, and I just had a couple of kids and that type, or about to have a kid and all that sort of stuff. And but yeah, I mean, we still made it work. Like, we're able to go to the studio. We've uploaded that footage to YouTube, and we tried to give it our best shot. And we started getting a bit of momentum. Played a few live gigs, and things were picking up.
Yeah, and you did some support for some decent names.
Yep. So we had a guy, Steve Big Spin. So he was an older head who knew a lot of these guys. So he was able to get us like a show with Onyx back at the SB Gershon room. Yep. We played with Taunts, but then we ended up sort of setting up our own shows. We didn't really know anyone, so we ended up setting up shows at the Barleycorn Hotel. Yep. And we were able to reach out to I think Taunts played one. We had Daywalkers, they had Carney on one as a DJ before Posse Shot days.
Really?
Yeah, because he was just, I don't know how, I think he was mates with some of the boys in GH and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just like networking with different people.
And doing a deep dive, I saw that you did opening support for the Dog Pound as well. That
actually I don't think even happened.
It never happened?
No, we never played that show.
Never played that one. But the Onyx one.
We're on the bill.
You're on the bill?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I don't think the show even went ahead.
It didn't go ahead.
Nah.
With those, like, with Onyx and stuff, do you reckon those dudes sort of got the Aussie brand? Did they understand? Because you got to think, the American hip-hop that was happening then and what was coming out of Melbourne or Australia was very different. Like, did those guys even get it, do you think?
Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, they get it now because they've just done a song with Posse Shot, but like looking back then, I doubt they even watched the show, mate.
They just turned up and drank.
Drank 3 beers, sat out the back on their own, came out when it was time to perform and went home.
That's probably.
I might be wrong though, but yeah, they're not like they're mingling in the crowd and that.
No, I think, but some you do see some of these international guys who just love the art form that get that, hip hop isn't just in America, it's everywhere. But I think some of the other international acts I've seen, that they just don't get that sort of the local stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess they're going to a lot of countries, so you can't get everything, can you?
Yeah, I know. And we only played probably like 5 shows all up as well.
That's it.
Looking back, I think so. Yeah, it was only a handful. Yeah.
And your brother is DJing there?
He Storm? Is. Yep. So he's DJing, cutting, bringing us in with the intro, all that sort of stuff. Yep. He was our sound man as well, so he'd be able to go and if something wasn't working, because we were all stupid with all that sort of stuff. We had no idea what was going on, mate. Yeah, we just show up, drink beers and get on stage and play.
Well, I think that's how a lot of that stuff is, and you don't want it to be too polished, man, because that takes the authenticity out of it. You want it to be as DIY as you probably can. All right, so you've got the name, and then you've got to sort of work on your branding. If you've got people that are interested in, well, I'm going to say creative stuff. You've got people doing different hand styles and stuff. So how, did you work on something and say, this is going to be our brand? This is what we're going to fucking show people. This is going to represent Pirate Mafia?
I think it was especially the logo, that was just Nugs from GH, just put that together. It was all real fluid, he just did a tag on a bit of paper and that was it.
That's it.
And then Dean and I think Nugs and a few other dudes actually printed up the first shirts.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're trying to make a brand or anything sort of.
But
at
you're
the
not
time.
trying to.
We're just trying to have some merch out there for the shows and people to support it in the Northeast and that sort of thing. You know, like even the first CD we made, we didn't actually like sell it. We just pressed it up. We put a spliff inside each one. And at that show that we played for the GH video launch, we threw them out. And people realised there was a spliff in there, and they're stomping the CDs, and just everyone's smoking dope or whatever. And like I only just got a copy of that CD the other day, you know, because like no, it didn't make it, and it's been put on Bandcamp since or whatever. But yeah. So like it was hard, you know, back then to sort of try and sell merch, and really just giving it away. And
yeah, but I guess it's different now because people want to support smaller artists.
Yeah,
and I think buying merch or limited runs of wax or whatever it is definitely a way that people do say, man, I streamed this song, or I've supported these guys or followed them for a while.
Yep.
I want to show some support. And that's now probably the only way, aside from doing live shows, that smaller artists can make anything out of it.
Yeah.
And you guys have pressed your own wax and done that sort of stuff before. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that process?
Well, that was only the latest one we pressed up. But yeah, that was really that album, like it started from just being a 4-track. It was supposed to just be a 4-track thing for the crew or whatever. Like it was never supposed to even really be released. And then it sort of started coming together. And then next thing you know, we're doing CDs. And next thing you know, I'm like,
how many tracks on about 8?
9.
9.
Okay. Yeah. So the original 4. And then I was able to send those ones out to like Morns, Traz, Craig, Posse Shop, Strut, and say like, are you feeling this? Here's some beats. And they all came back and said, we'll get on it. Yeah. Like, oh, fuck, now we're getting somewhere.
So then you're stoked. So then you're like, we've got to put this out. And that forces your hand to put it out then, I guess.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I've got to put this out now. It's sounding good. You know, I'm feeling it. And then, the wax was just something I've always, because of like harping back to my dad and that, he collected vinyl as a kid or whatever, teenager, and, you know, listening to his record collection. He's not with us any longer. So it was really important for me to be able to put something physical inside his collection.
Yeah.
You know, because like you make music, you can make it digital, but you make it on wax, mate. It outlives me, outlives you. If 2030 comes and the world crashes and, you know, digital goes forever, my wax is still sitting in that cupboard.
It's 100%. And the last episode I did with Checkmate, he mentions that as well. He's like, as soon as you put it out there on wax, it's eternal, and it's going to be archived, and it can't disappear. That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's like, I guess, the pinnacle of what you want to do. You want to make sure that if you're making something and it's coming from the heart, that it's out there forever. And something we don't really have that much at the moment with the digital age, you know?
With streaming and all that sort of stuff, it's all really like, it's all temporary, you know? So to have something like wax, it's physical, it's forever. Yeah.
Were you surprised in how well it was received?
I was more surprised, like dudes like Posse Shot in their prime, like Strut, Morns, like everyone involved, like on the strength of not bringing out music for 10, 12 years or whatever, we're like, yeah, we'll get on it. And like showed support that way. And then it started building some legs. And then, I was surprised once it actually came out, because I wasn't trying to do a film clip for every song, and really wanted to keep everything a bit of anticipation around it. And then like, these are the guys who are on it. This is what's happening. And
do you think that potentially the hiatus has played into the anticipation?
I think so. Yeah. I think the folklore and like a bit of that's built up, you know, around PM, because like a lot of the shows, like guys are smashing their heads through windows, and like we drank the bar dry at a few, and like we'd come on first, and then the rest of the show wouldn't get to play, and and then like the Halsies are at one of the gigs, and it was real staunch, and like I don't know, there's a few things around, like a few of our gigs have always been, there's always something going on,
and with only a few shows that you ever played live, that adds to the folklore.
Yeah, it definitely does. And then people sort of like, oh, what's going on? Is it a full PM album? Because we were always trying to make it like a full thing, and I was just going hard on my own, and then trying to push those guys to also get on it.
Well, yeah, just from an outsider, it does seem like it was a bit of your project, and you're trying to sort of get these guys to come back.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm doing. Come join. Is that what it was a bit like?
Yeah, it was, because like on a personal level, like my wife got diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer back just before COVID kicked in.
Yeah.
So that sort of consumed us. Like, she's doing really well now, which is great, but it consumed us for a few years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to bring out something, you know, life's too short type thing. I want to do this, you know, and I was listening to Traz, like he did a song with Taunt's record covers, and I was just blown away by it. Taunt's production, Traz's raps, and I'm like, man, I just want to put something down. I hit Taunt's up and got a couple of beats off him, and was just writing, like, more so for a therapeutic point of view. You know, can I still do it? One, what's it going to sound like? And then hit Checkmate up, because I'd done recording at his joint before, and he's like, yeah, just roll around, we'll do something, put it down, and and then I just basically got a group chat going, and I was like, guys, I'm doing this.
Yep.
Here's some songs. If you're feeling it, get on everyone. If you're not, don't. It's up to you. So sort of forced their hand a bit.
Yeah.
And like Scalzi wasn't really feeling it. Celtic got on a joint on Walkinshaw, and Dean got on that one, obviously. And then Nugsy had moved on from Ryman, essentially. Like he was more into tattooing, that focused in that way. He changed sort of in the sense that he wasn't writing as much. He wasn't into that lifestyle, drinking, going out. So he didn't really want to rap about, you know, painting trains when he's not doing it and that type of thing. And, you know, and he just wasn't that way inclined. So I was always pushing it as a PM, but it was really my own solo joint.
Well, it's, and in the title of your name.
Yeah, of course. yeah. But I was always putting that PM like name behind it, you know, like I didn't want it to be, you know, I didn't think I had the strength of just jeans. I was like, I've got to put it underneath Pirate Mafia's banner.
Yeah. And since that's come out, of some of the guys that were hesitant at the start come around?
Yeah. So we're recording a new one as we speak.
With majority of...
Yeah. So Dean, it's a Jeans and Houdin's album. So Dean just left. He was down because he lives in New South Wales. He was down for a weekend.
We tried to tee it up to get him
here.
Yeah,
it didn't work. Too much going on. But he records. He's on every joint. So we caught up with Nugs on Saturday night. He's like, I'm going to get on a joint. Just let me know what it's about. I want to do it for you guys type thing.
Yep.
And then Scalzi and Wisey are booking in their own session with Checkers. And if we'll all be on the same song, I don't know.
What about like the production though?
The production.
Can you tell us who's doing the production?
I've got a few different types. So it's not all Taunts this time around. We sort of branched out a little bit. I've got Taunts obviously though still on it. Checkmate's got a couple of joints on there.
Yep.
I've got Farmer G from Task Force.
Yep.
So we're big Task Force fans.
Yep.
Massive, like more so than some Aussie stuff. Amazing Maze. There's a Treb one. There's a variety of dudes on there. Yeah.
And Checkmate is like mastering it,
mixing, recording, mixing, and then mastering it. Yep.
And has he been? Obviously, he's a prominent figure in the scene.
Yeah.
Is he giving you guidance, or is he just sort of sitting back and letting you do your thing?
Checkmate, he'll sit there and, you know, you'll see his head bobbing or whatever. But yeah, he's telling us it's sounding good, you know.
Yeah.
And he's going to be on one of the joints as well.
Yeah,
so
nice.
That's enough of a cosign if he's happy to get on it. It's obviously.
Are you asking him for his, like, what do you think of this?
Always, yeah, you're always like, what do you think? But he sort of stays out of it, you know. If we've got we're pretty like focused on what we've got to do when we go in, like because it's all on the hour. We're not there to fuck around.
Yeah. He's like, come on, boys.
So we plan it before we go. We've got demos written at home. We've recorded us. We know how it's supposed to sound. We've got hooks. So you really like, we can smash out probably 6 songs in 3 hours.
Yeah, right.
Where some guys go in and might do 1 and then go, what the hell? We've got nothing to show. So I will make it like it's not a big drink up. It's pretty professional. Like we go in there. Not many people come. It's like just the people who are on the songs.
You bring the hangers on, they're just going to distract you.
Oh, it's all good in theory. Like we've done it before, and you know, have a barbie, have beers, and fucking carry on. But really, like we need to get this done, type thing. We're on a timeline, you know. So.
And everyone doesn't live in the same area now, so you've got to really like make it fucking work.
Yeah, big time. And like Dean didn't get all his stuff done, so he's got to he hires a place in New South Wales, and he has to send it down to Checkers, and then all the other features send everything to Checkmate direct, and he just mixes it for us.
Do you find that kind of process is not as personal when people are doing it from other spots? Like, obviously, in a perfect world, you'd love to be there, but I guess you're just stoked that they're on the track, so you go, well...
Most people have got their own studio now. Like, they can just do it themselves. I mean, like, with the Strut joint, we did that in person. Strut's like, if I'm going to be on this, it has to be together. I'm not sending you a verse. I don't do that.
Which is cool.
It's cool. It's fucking daunting, though, like meeting your idol in the studio. But it was a great day, and Crave came down that same day. He laid his down, but Traz and like Morns and stuff sent theirs in on the album. But yeah, I'd prefer to do it in studio.
Yeah,
it's just more of a memory, mate. You know, you get to meet them, put a face to the name. You know, because you create an art together, you sort of want to be on that personal level with them as well.
Especially when you're in the same city. If you're on the other side of the globe, it makes sense. But if you're here, you're like, all right, well, come on, let's try and like at least,
It's hard though. People are busy doing shit, and you know, Checkmate's on a schedule as well.
People have got families. People have got shit to do, and like we're talking about before, people have got real jobs, man. Like I don't think this sort of Melbourne rap thing's paying the bills for a lot of people unless you're really hustling.
No, I'm like working 50 hours a week in a commercial job and everything. It's not I'm not sitting around writing rhymes all day.
But do people think that when they see you, they're like, oh man, you must be doing well, you're doing this sort of stuff? Like,
not really. Nah. People who know me, like mates I've had since I was 12 and stuff, they know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess some people are like younger crew think like if you've got an album out, you must be making money out of it. And talking to Checkmate about it the other day, he's like, just because you own a label doesn't mean you've got money. You still got to grind.
Yeah, it's definitely, you got to outlay, you got to back yourself, you got to put money behind you. You know, like I was saying to you before, like a lot of these artists aren't they're claiming they got all these followers on Instagram, and that's all good and well, but like really press up 100 on wax, see if you can even sell it. I highly doubt you could.
But that's the thing with like social media is it's less is more, or not less is more. Sorry, the quality over quantity. So you're better off having 2,000 fans that are fucking into it than 20,000 that just follow you and don't even engage or wouldn't buy your stuff.
Yeah, and the hard part's like being relevant. Like you'll bring it out, it will have that peak or whatever. People, you'll see it, you'll sell 30 copies in the first night or whatever, 50 copies, then it just drops straight away. So you constantly got to be feeding that Instagram beast, annoying people. Albums up, keep it in their forefront because they're so consumed by being, I don't know, just whatever's the next thing.
What's next?
They've forgotten about that already, you know. So that's the other thing I like, pressing it up on wax. Someone's got it, they can have a few beers at home, chuck it on, kick back, roll a zoot, you know, rather than like digitally, you might listen to it in the car or whatever, but I don't know, it doesn't hold the same weight.
It's easily forgettable when it's not physical.
Yeah. Like all the albums I listen to are ones I got on wax. Like I'll listen in the car to shit on YouTube or whatever, or Spotify, but really like ones I consume properly, I'll buy it on wax, sit there, listen to the whole album.
And then it'll make you consume it in a different fashion.
Yeah. I don't know, it's the way it's intended. Like I'm big on albums as well. Like it has to be an album or an EP. I'm not down with singles and shit.
That's definitely a new generation thing that people will, and it's interesting even from a fucking standpoint of if they're trying to be commercially successful, some people will come out into a music scene and drop one song, right? Which is fine, whatever, if that's the way the kids want to do it. But if people like your shit, then they've got nothing else to, like, what do they click on you and then what else do they consume? Nothing.
Yeah, I know.
So that doesn't really make sense to me. Like you should, the whole idea I think from the original days was you had a single which got fucking people reeled in to then consume your album. Yeah. You had other tracks there. If you've got one song, then what do? Then they go to the next song that isn't yours. Yeah. I just, it's true. Like an album's like a body of work. It's there. It starts at the, it starts, got a middle that brings you up, takes you down at the end. Yeah. It all serves a point. And I don't know, like you're not making any money off distro kids, sort of like, like the Spotify, YouTube plays, unless you're getting millions and millions. Yeah. Like there's not much in it. You make more off the wax than you would off anything. Merch and stuff. Touring. But it all pays for the next thing. You'd all run a jumpers. We only do that because we've got a 7-inch coming out that pays for that, and that pays for the next thing. And, you got to constantly chasing your tail. Yeah. And you got to pay for the cover art, the features, studio time. It's not like it costs nothing. So you got to back yourself, put coin behind yourself. As Posse Shots say, invest in yourself, Yeah. Those guys, they've got it, like, obviously they're put in a lot of work, but their merch and the way they're on another level. They really hustled, and obviously they say get the money up, but those guys they're really hustling and doing it, and they're showing that you can be independent and just fucking they've built a brand, like a proper brand. Yeah, we're lucky to get that song with them, Teflon. That was a banger. Yeah. Hopefully one day we can do that one live. That'd be the key. Yeah, well, man, speaking of live, like you had a show at Laundry last year, which is pretty infamous. Well, not infamous. People have talked that was pretty crazy. Yeah. When you got all the lads up on stage and everything. We used to do that every show. So when we do Run On with the GH. All 5 of them. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. So, we'd just be like, oh, well, the boys get up, fucking get into it. And, just surge the stage type thing. But, that was like, because we didn't think we'd ever do another show again. Yeah. And we were first on, I think, or second on. So it was early. It was like it was daylight outside, Yeah. So we had more people on the stage and in the crowd. Is that upstairs? Upstairs at Laundry, yeah. So, no, it was good fun, But I don't I love gigs at the time when I'm doing it and it's about to finish, but I hate it before it. Like just the anxiety, the nerves. But as soon as you say your first word, did you snap out of it? So sort of. There's some verses like this is a hard one. It's long. There's a bit that I always fuck up in rehearsal. You get through that and you're like, sweet, I'm good to go now. I guess, and that's probably one downside to not playing a lot of shows that you're not versed with your other MCs. That if you do drop the slack, they can sort of pick it up a little bit. Yeah. Because you're not doing that many shows. If you're just doing the first show for ages, you can't sort of fuck it up and they can be like, I've got you here. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. And that was the first one in like 12 years or something. So it was a big, or 11 years. So it was a big gap. Well, then between. There was only 3 of us, not 5 on stage. And And but I guess people can forgive you for not remembering everything when it's been 12 years.
Yeah, but I mean, Strut asked us, like, you know, so we had to do him proud as well, like him, you know, do him a solid type thing. We didn't want to fuck it up, you know. We took that, you know, extremely fucking important sort of thing to be on.
Do you think you stole the limelight with that early set there?
Nah, definitely not, mate. We just set the night up.
Set it up, and the rest of the night was.
That was a great show. There was a punch on in the smoking room. It was like an old Aussie hip hop gig. Riders were fighting. You know, it was great. We used to go to shows as like teenagers, and it was hectic. Like,
I remember. I know Dave, who owns Laundry, and he's said a few times, he's like, I'm not having any more Aussie hip hop shows, man. They just trash the joint, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I think that lasted about 12 months, and he's back having shows.
Oh, mate, we drink a lot. That's the thing. He fucking cleans up. They all clean up on the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man. Laundry, like, obviously it is different to what it was back in the early days, but they still do a lot for up-and-coming Aussie hip hop.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
You know?
There's heaps of good shows there. Yeah, most weekends there's someone playing, which is great.
And Dave loves his hip hop, Aussie or international hip hop. He's a good what should we say, person that just wants the culture to grow.
Yeah.
And I think there are some venues that just the toilets get bombed, the fucking mirrors get broken, and they won't entertain that idea anymore.
I think they just need to leave them bombed, and people fucking make it part of the fabric. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you look at places like you know, Section 8 or whatever, and they just go, well, the toilets is a container that's just bombed anyway, so let's just let it go.
Yeah.
But if you've got to have, if you've a band room and you've got to have other shows, you can't really let that go all the time.
Yeah, it's fair enough. You know? Depends what sort of clientele you're bringing through the door, mate.
The pros and cons of Aussie hip hop, though, man.
Yep.
All right. So you touched on it a little bit before, but aside from hip hop, you like your rock, your hardcore music, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And would you see yourself making that kind of music?
Never.
That's not you.
No, never. No. But I'll still listen to like Gorilla Biscuits or Raise Fist or whatever. Still chuck it on, you know, in the car or whatever at home. But I'll never ever be in a band. I can't play a guitar or sing.
But that's one of the beauties of hip hop is you can sort of make music without having to know how to play those instruments.
Yeah.
And you speak to somebody who is a producer who plays all the instruments, and that's cool. They love hip hop for that.
Yep.
But an MC can just write rhymes that sound good, and they can be making music.
Yeah.
Which is sick.
I just like referencing all those bands and stuff like that, you know, like referencing Eddie Cars, and I love all that sort of stuff because I just don't want to listen to Oz hip hop. I don't sit around listening to rap all day.
I think that is a very interesting thing because I listen to all sorts of music. And hip hop's probably what I come back to the most in any sort of way. But I love my rock music, you know. I love even 80s cheesy music. I love all sorts of shit. I find, though, that a lot of real Aussie hip-hop heads only listen to Aussie hip-hop to the point that they won't even listen to American hip-hop to some extent. Yeah. Do you find that crazy?
Yeah, I find it, I suppose, each to their own. But but I'm sort of stuck in a time warp where I'll only listen to like shit from the era when I sort of got into it, like Trems for the Term or Legend Official by Strut, Stages Set. Those albums, I just listen to those. I don't really listen to new shit. You know, it has to be like maybe the Rangers, I like their shit. There's a few like Posse Shot stuff. You know, Traz I mentioned before.
They're still making it sort of.
It sounds like it's harping back to that era.
That's
you know?
right.
And like Kings Connected, like Culprit and stuff like that, and Dantes from Queensland. Like I love all that sort of shit, but I don't know. It's for me to sort of get into something new. I'm real like stuck in that time warp, you know.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy for anyone to sort of say that I'm only listening to a certain genre because it's just not expanding your mind.
Yeah.
And with something like hip hop, you can sample anything. Like you sampled Metallica.
Yep.
So maybe if someone does like that Aussie hip hop song, they actually do fucking like Metallica. They just haven't realized it yet.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, I think you can sample anything in hip hop and it could be from any genre. But I think, just people opening their minds is a little bit more, it needs to, I've got friends and they're like, I only listen to Aussie hip hop. Or now, so they might say, I only listen to grime, you know what I mean? And I think that's crazy.
They're probably just stuck in like
they're stuck in that
moment in time or whatever where they're just listening to that. But, you know, everyone evolves, changes, goes back, whatever. But, yeah, I sort of know what I like and I just sort of stick with it.
It's part of getting a bit old, though, isn't it?
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. I know what good music sounds like to me, you know what I mean? Like, I know what I like, you know? And if something new comes along that I'm feeling, I'll listen to it for sure. But I'm not actively looking for new music in that, really. Someone has to sort of suggest it. Have you heard this guy? Have a listen. It's really good, you know?
It is. That happens a fair bit for me. Someone says, you got to listen to this. And then I don't. And then I'll eventually come around to it. I'm like, oh man, I listened to that. And they're like, I told you that. You should have been fucking onto that a while ago.
Yeah.
But I feel like as we get older, you get comfortable in your ways a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure there's other stuff out there that I'm not into that I should be, that I'm missing out on as well.
There's a lot of music out there.
So much music, you know. So, I mean...
How do you sift through it all?
I don't know.
You can't.
Yeah. I just sort of... If people are putting music out on Wax and stuff, I'll probably cop it, like have a listen to it on YouTube and go, fuck, this is dope, I'll buy that, you know. Just to have in the collection.
To show some love as well.
Yeah, just to show some love. Have it, because you got all the flippers in Oz Hip Hop with the Wax. So
it's a bit sad, that whole thing, isn't it?
Well, it sort of was prevalent when like Stage's set was getting 300 a pop and banned in Queensland, and now it's not. A lot of guys got into it to make money.
Yeah.
By buying double, selling one. And it's not like that really anymore, you know.
It's like the sneaker resale culture.
It is, but
which has killed that whole sort of thing.
Yeah, so Oz Hip Hop had that. I think a lot of people put shit out on Wax thinking they were going to flip and whatever. But yeah, nowadays I don't really see it. Like, 'cause I'm on a lot of pages and you see, like, oh, that's still only getting 100 when it was 80 brand new. It's not like it's crazy, like it's 500, 600. Yeah. All the older albums are like that, but I sort of just grab them because they're also limited, the runs. I'm like, fuck, I've got to get that because if I don't, I'm going to miss out. Some dude's going to cop two and I don't want to pay resale prices later, you know?
Nah, it's I dip my toes, no pun intended, into the sneaker business, not business, but like, you know, like I'm like, I want to get these Jordans or whatever. And they're always like, it kind of makes me laugh a little bit when people get bots or whatever they fucking do, and then they end up with all these shoes and then they sell them below retail. I'm like sucked in. Like, those sort of things should be for people that actually wanted to buy them and wear them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
And I feel that from that sort of wax flipping perspective as well. Same sort of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, there's those true heads out there who actually want it for the music, and you know, I'm in the same boat as you with the shoes. Yeah, where I cop like Jordan 6 infrareds, Jordan 7 Raptors, because they're like my eras of Jordan that I love the most.
Because we're stuck in that 90s.
Yeah. But I want like a pair of 95 Air Max Neons, and I can't find them anywhere. And I've got to pay like $500. And
they're about to re-release those, I think.
The neon green ones, like
the
original
colorway. The grey, black, and
yep.
green.
Yep.
I think they're about to re-release those.
Yeah.
The thing is that I find with the shoes, sneakers that I buy, I think it's a bit of a psychological thing because I think I don't wear them, but I want them. And I think it's because when I was a kid, I couldn't have them. So then when you have the money, you're like, oh, now I'm going to get them. Yeah. But then you don't even... Every now and then I'll look at them, but I still don't really wear them. It's a funny kind of obsession, the whole sneaker thing.
I'll pull them out, put them on, and go, fuck, what am I supposed to wear these with? And put them back in the box.
I think it's a throwback to those days where you just wanted them. Yeah. And when you're a kid, you'd wear your Jordans with anything. But now you're like, I don't know.
I never had Jordans growing up, and I remember like playing basketball when I was a kid, and I would go to courts wherever, and you'd see kids, you're like, oh, that kid must be fucking awesome. He's got Jordan 6 infrareds on. How good's this kid going to be? And he's a dud. Yeah. You know? And it's a dude with like the duct tape around his toes and shit who's killing it. Who had the hustle. But
the first pair I got was the 8s with the strap.
Yeah, they're dope.
And I wanted them from an early, but that was, I think, the first time.
The black ones?
The black and blue, the blue-purple ones,
Like the carpety sort of tongue.
They were the first ones that I ever had, and it took me, but the 5s and even like, not as far back as the 4s, because I was probably too young, but that's where I wanted them, but I had to really work to that sort of stage, you know? Yeah. Which is crazy because... They were still $200 back then. Yeah. In the 80s. Yeah. Oh, sorry, not 80s. It was probably early 90s.
Yeah, early 90s. You got Jordan in his prime. And it's winning titles. You're a kid. You know, you just had to have them.
Man, and that's it. And I love all your 90s basketball references. Yep. Which is awesome. And a lot of rappers do. But I also have to really, like, give you some props for the NBL references, which aren't as prominent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Bruce Bolden.
Magic like Bruce Bolden. Yeah. And like, I think there's a couple of Andrew Gaze ones. I think there's Leonard Copeland alley-oop.
Yeah. There's a Leonard Copeland rap. Yeah.
Bro, so like, I love all that sort of shit because I was going to those games and that was that pinnacle for me with that, all that sort of basketball stuff. There's another line I've got to bring up because I think it's pretty crafty. You do this, you allude to the fact that you're going to say Eiffel Tower, but you don't. And I think that's really, really clever, man. So you've got you say like that Paris Tower or something, and you think it's going to rhyme with Eiffel, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, I don't even know what you call that, like an anti-rhyme, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I can't remember what the rhyme is now.
You don't remember that?
I'm real shit with remembering my raps. Yeah, that's why I have trouble on stage live. I don't really like doing it because I've got to like really practice. And
I'll send it to you after this.
Yeah. I know the song. I know which
the
bit.
song?
Yeah.
Because I think it's something rifle, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we lean like...
leaning like that tower.
Yeah. And then you go to something, you don't say Eiffel, and then you go to something else, and I'm like... That's good.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
you've caught, and that's probably why you can't remember those lines, because you want to say Eiffel.
Yeah. It's just there's a lot of words getting thrown around, but no, it is fun doing all those old NBA references, and
totally
like anyone back then. If you're a kid, like you're up watching Wild World of Sports in the morning on a Saturday,
Hoops TV.
Yeah, trying to cop something. You know, the top 10 plays on Sports Center, I think it was, that they'd throw.
It was NBA Action.
Yep, that was crazy.
Love that. Yeah. It'd be video hits into NBA Action.
Yeah,
and you'd watch it.
Yeah, and you cop like a little bit of like a finals game. Like you weren't seeing the whole thing, and you know, someone you knew would go overseas and bring back a few magazines or something, and
like that. Yeah, that Jam Session VHS and that Jordan Come Fly With Me and all that stuff. We all loved basketball, but that was pretty much the only way you could consume it, because there was no ESPN or anything.
Yeah, and then the cards as well. Like any kid, we were big on the collecting. We had a shop, Rookies and Legends in Box Hill. So like stealing money off your mum, going up there, buying packs of cards, and crazy, you know, to think about.
My local card dealer was at the South Melbourne Market just down here, and it was in the meat section, in the butcher section. They had this card store where this American dude would bring cards from the US and sell them in the meat section, and used to hang out there all the time. And now I think about it, I'm like, fuck, that's weird.
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, that's real weird.
You'd do anything to buy to get those basketball cards.
Big time. And I remember the NBA Jam Session came to Australia. And
You've got that in a song too.
Yeah, on Walkinshaw, because we went when we were kids at the Glass House. It's like the Lexus Centre now, and that was massive. Yeah, that was like the day.
That's where the Giants used to play.
Yeah. And I remember the Charlotte Hornets mascot was there. I think Mark Price from Cleveland was in like a 3-point comp. It was just an amazing day, mate. Like as kids, you know, because that's like we said, we couldn't digest everything through the internet then. No. You had no way of seeing shit. You just took, you barely ever saw anyone dunk. You know, like that's Brett Rainbow, like I sent you before, like the king of the NBL dunk. You know,
and when I first started working in nightclubs, I used to do these like little promotion things, and I had the drink cards. And he was at a nightclub that I worked at. And I went up to him. This is Evolution back near Chapel Street back in the day. Probably like early 2000s. I went up to him like, "Oi, you're Brett Rainbow."
Yeah, right.
And he would have been like, I don't think he got recognised very often.
I doubt it.
And he was stoked.
Yeah.
And I gave him like $45-$50 worth of drink cards. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, come over here, meet this guy." And I'm like, man, because no one would recognise him.
Well, really. I didn't even know if he played. I think he was just there to do dunks and shit.
He was like the 12th man.
Yeah,
he was on the bench. He did those dunks.
Yeah.
And I recognised him. I went up to him because I had that All-Star game, whatever year that was. It was probably like 93 or 94. I had that. I recorded that All-Star game and watched those dunks and everything.
Yeah.
And I recognised him, gave him some drink cards, and he was stoked.
Yeah.
I wonder where he is now.
Who knows, mate?
I should get him. On
probably
the
still at Evolution nightclub, mate.
That's gone now.
in the Dunnies, mate. He's telling everyone how he was such a good dunker.
No, he was. I don't know what he was doing there, but anyway, I gave him the drink. He was stoked because no one recognised him.
Yeah.
Poor old Rainbow.
Yeah.
But they were good days, man. Good. But obviously, the NBL now is actually like a very solid competition.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because back then everyone used to say, "Oh, it's shit," you know. And when you compare something from a national level to an NBA level, it's always going to be pale in comparison. But now I think it's at the point where people say, "Go to Australia and play." The league's actually solid.
Yeah, I did see someone is coming over from the NBA. Soon, like not like a D-League dub, someone who's actually half alright.
But they do that a lot now because I think these dudes come out of high school and they have to either go to college or you've got to play in another league, and that's why they come here to sort of cut their teeth.
Yeah,
and you look at someone like Josh Giddey or whatever, who's like he played here for a year, then he goes and then he does well here. People are like he's only playing the NBL, then he goes to the NBA and he actually is getting triple doubles and stuff.
Yeah,
so it shows that this league isn't a piss take anymore.
Yeah. See, I don't really follow NBL at all anymore.
Yeah.
Like I think like even especially like the All-Star games like that's hence why I called that track Vince Carter 2000.
Yeah.
Because like those NBA dunk comps back there
that was the best.
They were the best, and like now it's like a piss take. Like people are just defense. They're shooting from half court all game. It's like what the fuck, you know?
The All-Star game. like they keep trying to change it.
Yeah.
But the dunk comp last year, that Mac McClung dude, he's like 6'1" or 6'2", white dude. I think he saved the dunk competition.
But he got brought up, I think, from the G League or whatever they call it.
He did. He signed a 2-week contract.
Like when we were growing up,
he's the Brett Rainbow of the NBA.
Yeah, we had Dominique and Spud Webb and Jordan and like all these dudes.
Spud Webb,
like,
man,
in their
5'3" and he's dunking, which is fucking hard. Like you're not a tall dude, I'm not a tall dude.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine doing a 360, man.
Yeah, I know. Mate, I can't even touch get anywhere near it, you know? Yeah, I wouldn't even touch the net type thing.
It's crazy to think.
Backboard, nothing.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that dude had that much hops back in the day.
Oh, it's crazy, yeah. And like, remember growing up, we would watch like the AFL All-Star game or the State of Origin.
Yeah.
They canned that. Like that was dope. That was like people were playing for their state, going nuts, you know.
And the thing is that the NRL has run with that now, and that's like their premier thing.
Yeah.
Like the NRL, the State of Origin is probably bigger than the grand final. And it's something that the AFL just relinquished, which is odd because the AFL try to usually beat the NRL at everything they can, but they've just sort of gone, well, you can have that one.
Oh, they don't want people getting hurt, and you know.
That's what I think it was. I think it was back kind of like the late 90s when dudes like Wayne Carey was signing $1 million contracts and there was just too much on the line. And they just go, we can't risk these guys just for the sake of playing state against state.
And you got Plugger Lockett out there who's keen to knock a head or two off. And
did you see him when he came? Man, he's real skinny.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
He looks like a different person.
Yeah. He was my favourite player.
You a St Kilda fan?
No, not St Kilda, just like Tony Lockett, mate.
Just just big Plugger.
Yeah, big Plugger. Yeah.
Is there any stuff that you want to do you obviously want to talk about your new album, or do you want to plug that, or any upcoming shows or anything like that?
There's probably no shows.
No shows?
Nah, nothing like that coming up. You know.
Do you want to drop a hint of when you might release a new album or anything like that?
Yeah, so we want to have it recorded by end of sort of September, you know, and get the cuts, everything in there, get it done, get it out, you know, by end of year type thing again, and then hopefully if we can pull it all off the vinyl by end of year. Yeah, but then obviously there's a lead time with the wax that can take a couple of months, so we'll see how that plays out.
Is that how it works? Like it's like 8 weeks or something?
Yeah, so you got to put it out there, get the test presses back, you got to prove the test presses, and then from there it's like another whatever, depending on how busy they are. So it's a lengthy process. Like I've got a 7-inch coming out now, like a throwback. It's going to be running with the GH on wax, so a couple of the older joints, just because they're not being released on wax before, and that's taken like months to come out.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I guess they've got to there's different kind of artwork that you can have, different kind of stock with the record sleeves and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty, with the 7 inches, it's pretty easy going. But yeah, with the 12s and stuff, there is a fair few different things you can choose or whatever, but I keep it pretty standard, mate.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've got friends, like anyone, lean on your mate's got a good graphic designer that I went to school with, so he helps me out and puts everything together. But this cover, we're actually getting hand painted and putting a bit more effort into the cover, I suppose, rather than just getting this video grab off the screen type thing.
And what about like all the T's and C's and all the legality stuff and that, like that sort of thing? Like, do you have to think about that? Like, is it a label thing? Like, do you know what I mean?
No, we just do it. It's all on our own. I just put it on the PM or Pirate Mafia Big Cartel, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, because like I pay everyone for the production outright, so I sort of own the production, I suppose. And if I paid for a verse or don't, like it's, you know, it is what it is. Yeah.
And then, but I guess you still have to put down the credits and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you credit everyone.
Yeah.
And you make sure everyone's happy in that regard or whatever. But as far as like the splits go, like usually PM, we just take the whole lot type thing. But there's no money in the digital side of it.
No.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. It's not.
You're breaking even, like with the wax at best. Yeah, like when you look at it, like this one we'll probably lose money on because we're getting the cover painted, and you know we've got more features this time around, different producers. You know, everyone has a different rate. You know, so if I can break even, get it out on wax, I'll be wrapped.
And it's like people say the same sort of thing to me about this podcast. They're like, so how are you going to make money? And I'm like, but you don't always need to make money.
I'm not doing it to make cash.
No,
I work 40 hours a week to make money. Like,
so you can spend money on this sort of stuff.
This is the hobby, you know what I mean? Like I don't smoke ciggies or nothing. Like I have beers and stuff, but I don't have any other hobbies. I don't play golf or fucking do whatever. I don't collect cars and shit. So this is really it. You know, I got my wax collection at home and pressing up my own and that type of thing.
You said you don't collect cars, but Walkinshaw is a song.
Yeah, I'd love to click. I don't have the cash, mate. I'm always looking, but yeah, I can't afford any.
But yeah, that sort of, is that the pinnacle of sort of automobile for you? You think that sort of thing?
Yeah, that or like a Monaro, like HQ or something, or a Tirana SLR 5000 or something. But you know, that era of cars, you know, growing up like a kid, having the posters on your wall, you know.
Can you believe that Holden's not around anymore?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's actually bananas, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why they've jumped so much in value, I suppose. But yeah, I just respect the design and what they were like as a kid, and they're just tough as fuck, you know.
Yeah. I think there's a bit of a golden era of cars because even though those sort of cars were a bit later, they really did emulate the sort of muscle cars of the 60s. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it sort of had that kind of, it was sort of strong rather than functional.
Yeah, and the Walkinshaw looks like it's from the future. It's like a big bogan chariot. I love it. Yeah, I just think it's out there. It's cool. You know? Yeah.
And they're worth a stack.
Yeah, heaps. Yeah, couldn't even fathom what they'd be worth, mate.
Like a couple of $100 grand.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And this is just like, oh man, I'm not a huge big car guy, but do you think so even like late model like Commodores before they sort of discontinued them, I guess if you've put one of those on ice somewhere, that'd be worth a stack now as well.
Yeah, I'm sure there's ones out there people are grabbing. Monaros and shit. Even newer ones go for a penny.
I saw a yellow, one of those, you know, those Monaros that came out.
The two-door.
Yeah. I saw one today, a yellow one. And you just don't see them very often anymore. Because that was essentially like a two-door Commodore.
Yeah. But like anything, everyone's trying to find that next Bitcoin type thing and put it away and have it stored, you know, for when it all bounces in price. And
I think since like the interest rates have gone up and post-COVID and stuff, people are selling their toys a little bit more, like that sort of stuff with cars and things. I think people will start to sell that sort of shit.
Yeah.
I can't see it. Well, look, obviously there's always going to be a market for it, but I can't see that people are going to be going out with like the way that the economy is.
Yeah.
And saying to their missus, I'm going to probably buy that Walkinshaw I've been eyeing off for 300 grand.
Yeah, you're not worried about interest rates, mate, if you've got 300k to blow on a fucking Walkinshaw.
That's true. That's probably true. I didn't think of that. But I think it's going to potentially drive the price down because people that have got them might need that what they did buy for 50 grand.
Yep.
And the wife or their partner or whoever's saying, hey, you know that thing you've been telling us that's worth a lot of money? Maybe now's the time to get rid of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Pity I don't have anything myself to get rid of, mate.
Oh, man. Look, I think it's a funny scenario. Like, it doesn't matter what you do or don't have possession-wise. If you're happy and you're making art and you're happy doing what you do, then it doesn't matter, man. I think as people get more mature, you fucking realise that these sort of possessions, it's cool to have. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, definitely.
You want to do what you want to do. And if you want to make music, and you make music.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think we've covered most of the stuff. Unless there's anything you want to add, anything about any new drops or anything?
No, we'll put some links in the description or whatever, like after this. But yeah, just like the Big Cartel, cop that 7-inch coming out. And obviously with the new 12 we're dropping, that'll be out by end of year. So yeah, cop that as well. And yeah, appreciate everyone tuning in and shout out to all the GH boys and One Line, Mark down at One Line and
those guys are doing a lot for the culture.
It's just Mark on his own.
Really?
Yep. So yeah, shout outs to him and it's dope what he's doing and we try to support him as much as we can and he supports us and shit. So we've got a collab coming out with him as well soon. It's in the works. So yeah. Always doing something new.
Awesome.
But, he'd be someone cool to get on the show and
for sure, man.
He's got some stories.
It's amazing within the hip hop scene how everybody sort of has to help everybody else out because like there's only so much of the slice of the pie to go around. So everyone is pretty keen to like look after each other and sort of and show love. So that'd be sick. And it's great to see that sort of there is somewhere out there for people to go and find that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Amazing.
No, I appreciate you having us on as well, mate. It's a good look.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
I dig it. Thanks for coming down.
No dramas.
Cheers, James.
3,000.